through CVs can be one of the most daunting tasks, especially for a recruiter like myself. Today, I'm excited to share with you our relevance ranking feature of our basic listing product. Our relevance ranking feature ranks applicants based on their relevance to your job description. This allows you to quickly filter candidates based on specific criteria such as qualification, education level, years of experience, or location. This means less time is spent reviewing candidates who have applied, as the most relevant ones are shown at the top rank in order. This saves you time and allows you to focus on interviewing only the most qualified candidates for the job. Ready to take your hiring process to the next level? Get started today.
Hello Ghana. Averagely, a single job listing receives 250 job applications. With so many candidates applying for each job posting, it can be overwhelming to manually sift through CVs and cover letters to find the most qualified candidates. Let me introduce to you the recommended candidate feature, which allows employers and recruiters like myself to match the recommended best fits for the job. Our recommended candidate feature uses data analytics and machine learning algorithms to score and rank candidates based on their qualifications and fit for the job. You are automatically presented 10 excellent candidates whom you can choose and invite to apply for your role. This saves you time and hassle of sifting through CVs. This is hiring made easy with you in mind. Get started today.
You tick all the boxes, right? Easy peasy. You feel like you find the perfect job on Jobberman. You take a look at the requirements, experience level, education, and skills. You tick all the boxes, right? Easy peasy. You feel like a toddler who just got their favorite lollipop. You apply and wait for the employer to call you for an interview. But radio silence. There's no response. Why? You wonder. Because our system only ranks applicants who match the employer's job requirements and have complete and detailed information on their profiles. So, if you haven't updated your professional summary, work experience, experience level, and education, you won't be ranked. But if you do update your profile, the system will present you as part of the most relevant applicants to the employer or recruiter looking for people like you. This means employers can also invite you to apply for jobs as soon as they go live when the system recommends you based on your complete profile. Remember, all these features are not privileges reserved just for a few. This is an opportunity for all job seekers, including you, to increase your chance of finding that dream job that suits you best. Don't miss out on it and update it today.
And a warm welcome to everyone. Good afternoon. This is Jobberman Ghana's second webinar for the year. And let us know where you are joining us from. You're all welcome. So in the comment section, let us know. We are streaming live on all our social media platforms, and we are live on Facebook, we are live on LinkedIn, we are live on YouTube. Get interactive with us. This section is on optimizing your applications for AI software. My name is Oswald and I'm going to be your moderator for today. Okay, so in the comment section, I see Charles. Welcome, Charles. Charles from Adenta, welcome. Welcome, Deborah. And I see Joshua. Welcome, Joshua. I see Emmanuel Quason. Welcome, Emmanuel. Rhoda, welcome. Let us know where you are joining us from, and let's get interactive. Welcome, everyone. We'll give a couple of minutes for everyone to join, so please do so. Sir, you're welcome. You're all welcome. You're all welcome. Keep the comments coming. This is an interactive session, as I said earlier, and we would like to hear from you. Let's keep it active and as interactive as possible. Today, I'll be having two guests join me, namely Etola Wadi of Jobberman Ghana, and I also have Rita Jabati of Jobberman Ghana joining me. Yeah. Wow. I can see my comment section is very active. Yeah. Hello, everyone. You're welcome. So, let me introduce my guest for today so we get the ball rolling. So, my first guest is Rita, and my second guest is Etola. Hello, Rita. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hello, Etola. Can you hear me?
Hi.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So, before we start, let me tell our listeners and our viewers a little about Jobberman. So, Jobberman Ghana for the past 10 years has been connecting employers in Ghana with qualified candidates to grow their businesses. In 2022, in addition to our recruitment solution, we launched our new business direction known as the 360 HR solution and talent management company with a vision to match employers in Ghana with qualified candidates with the prerequisite skills for their vacant roles. We have a database of over 600,000 qualified job seekers. So if you're an employer looking for new talent to join your team, contact us. And if you also want to contact us as a job seeker, please do so. Let's connect with you to find you the right job. At the moment, we have a database of over 222,000 employers in Ghana. So if also you're a job seeker ready for the next opportunity, just sign up on our platform. And remember, it's absolutely free. For those of you who are already having a job seeker account on our platform too, please do well to complete your profile up to 100% so you don't miss out on your next dream job. All right? All right. So our first speaker for the day is Rita. Rita Jabate is a product analyst here at Jobberman Ghana, and she will take it over from me. Okay, over to you, Rita.
Session. My name is Rita Jabate. I'm the product analyst for Jobberman Ghana. So let's get right into it. So today our discussion is going to be focused on optimizing your job application for the ATS or AI. Because as we all know, we are now in a technology age where almost everything is done with technology. We do not go the manual way anymore. So what we also need to do is we need to tune ourselves to suit the technology age. So let's proceed. So the purpose of this presentation is we want to better understand the AI. And as job seekers, if you know how you're applying for your jobs, it's going to be very helpful. As most of the feedback from job seekers are, I keep applying and I do not get any job. So it's very important we have this session so we better understand the ATS and how we can make our applications compatible with the technology in order to increase our chances of getting jobs. So let's look at what we are going to learn. We are going to learn how the ATS works. We'll learn the various tips to optimize your job application, and we also learn how employers use the ATS. So what are we getting from this session? What would this do for us as job seekers? First of all, it's going to enable us to optimize our applications to increase the likeliness of getting a job. so you know that you are doing the right thing. Okay, so let's proceed. So now let's look at the applicant tracking system. That's the ATS. So the applicant tracking system is a recruitment tool that is being used by recruiters to help them make their recruitment much easier and faster. So let's look at how it works. The ATS scans and analyzes the candidate profiles in order to identify relevant keywords, qualifications, and experience, allowing the employer to effectively screen. So, as an employer, a recruiter, when a job is being listed, what happens is that we have a lot of candidates applying for these jobs. At times, you have over hundreds of candidates applying. And what the ATS does is it makes it easier for the employer or the recruiter to get the right person. So, as a job seeker, how do you make yourself to be easily noticed by this employer? So we are going to be looking at that. So what the ATS does is it's very important to know what the ATS does. So when we are applying for a job, we have this in mind. So it analyzes the resumes and profiles, and it looks at keywords, qualifications, the qualification of the job seeker, the experience, and based on all this, the employer is able to rank candidates based on the level at which they qualify for the role. Okay, so let's proceed. So let's look at how companies use the ATS. So they use it for resume screening. So when you apply for a job, your resume is being screened or your profile is being screened. So the ATS automatically does this for the employer. So it checks to see if you meet the requirements the employer is looking for. And the next thing too is used for job posting and distribution. So when employers want to post jobs, so when you see a job on Jobberman Ghana Limited, they use the ATS to post these jobs. It allows them to easily post jobs and distribute them on their various social media platforms. So applicant tracking. So they are also able to track candidates. They're able to save candidates' data for future use also. And candidates ranking and scoring. So one thing they are also able to use the ATS for is they're able to use it to score candidates. So as you are applying for the job as a job seeker, you should bear in mind you are not applying alone. You are applying with other hundreds of people who may also qualify for the role, just like you. So the ATS ranks all of these candidates for the employer. So let's proceed. So let's look at some of the tips to optimize your job application for the ATS. So we now know why the employer is using the ATS. So he's using the ATS to make his work easier as an employer. He's using the ATS to be able to filter through the candidates to know those who qualify for the role without having to pick each CV. So gone are the days where when you see a job vacancy, you walk to the office, you have your CV in a brown envelope, and then you go and drop it at the HR's office or front desk or wherever. Now, employers do not rely so much on that because it's time consuming and it can be stressful. So that is why they use AI. That's why they are using the ATS. So instead of taking each CV and going through step by step to see, does Amma qualify for this role? Does Amma have the experiences I'm looking for? Does Amma have the skills I'm looking for? The ATS already does all these things for the employer. So the ATS checks, okay, Amma has a degree. The recruiter is also looking for a degree, fine. Amma has 10 years experience. The employer is looking for people with that level of experience. Amma stays in Accra. The recruiter is looking for someone who stays in Accra. Amma has good communication skills. Amma is very good with the computer, has Microsoft Word skills. So the ATS checks all of these things and makes sure he ranks or it ranks Amma as a best fit for the employer. So now let's look at how you as a job seeker can also make yourself the likelihood of you being chosen. Let's look at how the ATS would make that for you. So the first thing is you have to use relevant keywords. So most job seekers have one CV. So they just went to get their CVs, and right after any job they see, they apply with that CV. They do not, the keywords are the same, and the CV was even made in like 3 years ago when he was looking for a job. Now you are going for a new role and you are using the same old CV. So first of all, as a job seeker, you need to use relevant keywords. Make sure you are reading the job descriptions. Some job seekers don't even read a job description. You see a role for an account officer, and you know, oh, I'm an account officer. So you just apply. You pick your computer or your phone, you log in, and then you already have your CV on Jobberman, you already have your profile, so you just apply and you are just waiting for the employer to call you. But that's not how it works. You need to use relevant keywords. You need to read the job description carefully and identify some of the skills the employer is looking for, identify the qualification he's looking for, identify the experience he's looking for. And based on all that, use the keywords in your CV and in your profile as well. Jobberman Ghana has a profile. So as a job seeker, before you apply for a job on Jobberman Ghana, you need to have your profile. So you do not just create your profile and think, I'm done, finally. You need to, anytime you apply for a new job, you need to make sure that you look at the skills and then you use the relevant keywords in the job description to suit your CV. And also tailor your resume. So I was saying earlier on that you do not just create one CV, or you do not just update your profile to 100% and you are good to go. You need to customize your resume for each job application. So some job, and please the first slide. So some jobs have certain requirements that they are looking for, which you may have as a job seeker, but those are not the key requirements you have listed. You need to list them as your key requirements so that the ATS will be able to rank you. And you need to use standard section headers. So use commonly recognized headers such as work experience. Don't go and put some weird something. Maybe you want to appear very knowledgeable or something. So you go using very huge words and use standard content like work. If it's work experience, make sure you have work experience over there, and then include a skills section. It's very important to have your skills. Some job seekers feel lazy when they're adding their skills to their profiles or when they're adding it to their CV, but it's very important. Just look at the skills you have, the skills you've gained from your recent job experience or from the recent roles that you have done, and make sure you have all those CVs. And when you are looking at the skills, there is a way you need to have your skills. There are keywords you need to include in the skills. You do not just put any random word there. Look for the industry specific keywords. If it's communication skills, make sure you have it there. Don't put a very lengthy sentence there because the ATS may skip it. It may not recognize it. So you need to make sure you include relevant skills section. So let's move on. You also need to avoid unnecessary complex formatting. So I know most of us like to appear like sophisticated, and you want them, you want to impress the employer. Like, this person he knows what's about. So you end up using a very weird template for your CV, or even in your profile, you end up having a whole lot of things which may not be necessary. So you need to remove all those things and make it as simple as possible so the ATS is able to easily recognize the things on your profile and in your CV. And the last thing we'll look at on how to optimize your job application for the ATS is to proofread your application. So after you have put in your cover letter, after you have uploaded your CV, you have tailored your CV to suit the job requirements and done all the necessary things, after adding the skills, you need to proofread the application, read through the application, and make sure everything is on point. Because when there are grammatical errors, the ATS may not pick up some of the most key things. So it's very important to proofread your application, make sure everything is in place. You can even have a friend or a colleague read through and be sure everything is fine before you finally apply for the job. So let's proceed. So now let's look at the importance of optimizing your profile and CV for the ATS. So we have looked at what the ATS is. We've looked at why employers use the ATS. We've looked at the importance of the ATS to the job seeker. And we've also looked at how you can optimize your profile or your CV for the ATS. So now let's look at the importance. The first thing is it helps you to stand out from the competition. So I mentioned earlier that the ATS is a recruitment software. Whatever you put in the ATS, that's the same thing it brings out. So if the employer keys in, I want people with these specific requirements, the ATS is going to give the employer people with those specific requirements. So if you tailor your CV and your profile to suit that, it helps you to stand out. So you are not like the hundreds of other people applying, but you are ranked first, or you are ranked as a relevant candidate for that particular role. And it also helps to get you through the initial screening. So that is the ATS screening or the ATS filtering or the relevance ranking filter that the employers use. That's the initial screening process. So before the employer even calls you, hello, Mr. Baidu, we saw your application. Before you even get that call, there is an initial screening process which the ATS does. So if you do not screen or if you do not tailor your profile and your CV to suit how the ATS works, you do not even get through that stage. That's why you hear job seekers tell you, I've not gotten any call from an employer. I've applied for over 20 jobs and still I'm not getting any calls. The reason may be because you have not tailored your CV, you have not tailored your profile to suit the ATS. So the employer may be looking for A and you are keen in B. Meanwhile, you may have the A the employer is looking for, just that you are not tailoring your CV in that way, or you are not making the CV or the profile as the ATS is looking for, or as what the ATS what the employer is looking for. So it also increases your chances of being noticed. So when you have everything on point, you have your key job requirements on point as the employer wants it. It's looking for a degree, you make sure you have a degree experience, you make sure you have it clear, your location, everything is on point, your experiences, you have listed everything out. It increases your chances because now what is going to happen is the ATS is going to rank you as a top candidate, meaning you have everything the employer is looking for. So what happens is it helps you to even pass through the initial stage, as I said. So when you pass through that stage, you then are able to meet the employer, and now you are face to face with the employer. You can now prove yourself. Everything you're seeing on the CV, you are better able to prove yourself. And it's also improve application success rate. So now the story is no more going to be, I've applied for a lot of, Jobberman, ma apply, sir, I have applied. That's no more going to be the story, but it's going to increase your application success rate. So even as you apply for 10 jobs, you realize out of the 10, you have 5 or 6 employers reaching out to you. And you also align with the employer's needs. So when you optimize your profile or your CV, it aligns with what the employer is looking for. So say employer is looking for certain key requirements, it's looking for certain key skills, and you make sure that your profile, and one thing I always mention, job seekers feel the profile on Jobberman is not important. Oh, I have my CV, so I'm fine. But one other thing the ATS uses is the profile. It uses every information you have on your profile. So if you have very scanty information, your work experience, you just put 2 sentences, and you're like, oh, don't worry, everything is on my CV. My CV is the deal. You need to make sure your profile is also 100%, just like the CV. So when that happens, you align with the employer's needs. Everything the employer is looking for, the ATS goes through the profiles, goes through the CVs, and make sure it ranks you. The employer now sees you and it's like, okay, this candidate B has everything I'm looking for. Okay, so we've looked at the importance. Let's proceed. So one thing we need to know is that even though you are optimizing application for the ATS, you are doing all of this. It's also very important to create a compelling resume and profile. As I mentioned earlier, your profile on Jobberman should be 100% complete. And it shouldn't just be because the system you want to have the 100% completion rate. You just keep keying in just one worded sentences, but you have to make sure it has very concise information. And as you are optimizing your applications and your CVs, you need to also create a very compelling, well-crafted resume that appeals to human recruiters. So after you pass the ATS part, you are also able to meet the employer, and then you have a striking. So what is on the CV or on your profile should be you. It shouldn't be I am trying to tailor my CV to meet the ATS. So I don't have B, but I need to add B. You need to make sure everything on your profile, everything on your CV is a striking resemblance of who you are. So when you meet the employer, you are good to go. You do not need to keep going back and forth. You have a very high likelihood of getting the job. So before we end, I'm going to go over again. So we looked at the ATS. We said the ATS is a recruitment software that employers use to make their recruiting much easier for them. And we looked at some of the reasons why employers use the ATS. They use it to screen resumes. They use it to post their listings. So when you see the listings on the Jobberman platforms, they use the ATS to post it. They use it to track candidates. They also use it to rank candidates and score candidates. So that's how companies or why they use the ATS. We also looked at how to optimize your application. So these tips are very important. You need to use relevant keywords. We need to be intentional about our CVs and our profiles. Some job seekers feel once I have a CV, I'm good to go. We do not even take the time to go through and apply for the job intentionally. Some job seekers just pick their phones or their laptops, whichever, and they are just applying for jobs. You need to be intentional about it. You need to use relevant keywords. You need to tailor your CV. So before you even apply for a job, let's say before you apply for a manager job, you need to make sure everything in the job description you have that, and you are tailoring your CV for that. And you need to use standard section headers. Don't go and try to be Mrs. Over or Mr. Over sophistication and be using some huge grammar and all that. Just use standard section headers, simple words. If it's work experience, it should be work experience. If it's education, education. If it's skills, skills. Very simple as that. And also include a skill session. Very important. Always have a skill session. Don't be lazy. I spoke with a friend, and the friend was like, this thing is a very long process. I'm not coming to put this. But you need to take your time. Include a skill session. Make sure you have all the skills you have gathered from previous experiences, have all of that. So all these we need to keep in mind, and when you use these tips, I can guarantee you, after a few days or weeks of applying, you would be hearing from the employer. Your story is going to change. So that is it for now. I'll hand over to Oswald to
All
proceed.
right, Rita. Thank you very much for the insights that you shared with us. So, on just a summary of what Rita said, she said, if you are looking for a job actively and you want to be noticed, make sure you have a complete profile and you have your CV tailored for the job you are applying for. on our WhatsApp platform. Okay, so let me use this opportunity to drop our WhatsApp number once again. So our WhatsApp number is 054 290 4650. I repeat 054 290 4650. We have a question from James, and James is asking, he applied for a job, and after he has a complete profile and after he applied for the job, he later came back and checked and he saw it written on his profile on the job he applied for as viewed CV. What does that mean?
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that the employer uses one of the uses of the ATS is to streamline the employer's workflow. So they use it to be able to rank candidates. So what it means is the employer saw your profile. So that's what it means. As simple as that. The employer has looked at your profile but has not made a decision yet. He has not made a decision as to whether you qualify or you do not qualify, but he has seen your profile or your CV. That's what it means.
All right. So how long must you wait till you get feedback from the employer?
Okay, so we always recommend you wait for 3 months because some companies or some organizations have a very lengthy recruitment system. So it's not you saw the job on Monday and then you want to receive feedback by Friday. Some employers actually post the jobs and it starts recruiting in like 2 or 3 months' time. And one other thing you need to note as a job seeker is if you do not hear from the employer, even after 3 months, just keep it open. If it's your phone, your email, always make sure you are reachable because the employer can always come back. At times, you may even meet what the employer is looking for, but there is someone who strikes the employer more. The employer may go for that person now, but may recommend you for future roles. So you should always keep it open, even if that's why it's very important to tailor your CV to see what the employer is looking for. So when you are part of the best, let's say best 5 or best 10, even if you do not get the role now, the employer can always come back to you and reach out to you for future roles. Yes,
All
that's it.
right. All right. Thank you very much, Rita.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. So before we proceed, I would like to throw these questions to our audience. Are you currently enjoying the job you are doing? Do you love your job? Let us know in the comment section and also on our WhatsApp. Our number is 054 290 I repeat 054 290 All right. So before we proceed, let me share with you something else about Jobberman. We have introduced a new relevance ranking feature that uses an inbuilt matching score to rank applicants according to their relevance to the job description. So you can see the best qualified applicants at the top of the list. This means less time is spent reviewing candidates who have applied, as the most relevant ones are shown at the top in rank order, just as Rita said earlier. Available on both basic and standard products, you can visit our website www.jobberman.com.gh/employer for more details. So let's get interactive. Let's keep getting interactive. Let me see. And let me send some shout outs to our listeners and our viewers. All right. And hello, Frederick Eboa. Hello, King Charles. We are enjoying the program. We are happy to have you on the program. Hello, Nana Kwame. And hello, Mawina. Let us know where you are watching live from as well. Let's proceed to our next speaker for the day. Our second speaker for the day is Etonam, the senior recruiter here at Jobberman Ghana. Hello, Etonam. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
All right. You're welcome to the program and you can take it.
Thank you.
Hello, Salam, you can begin.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for having me, Oswald. Um, I really appreciate the opportunity to share something that's a pain point for many recruiters. Personally, I've been recruiting for almost a decade now. I've played on the side of the employer where I was the one hiring, and then also as a recruiter, playing the middle ground between a job seeker and then also an employer. And the employment landscape, I must say, is really busy with many actors. But I'll say the three most important players or the three most active players in the employment landscape will be the employer, the job seeker, and then the recruiter. And the competition there in the employment scape, you can't imagine. So I'm just going to share some statistics, which for me is really staggering. I don't know how that will be for you on the other side. So the first one is the job opening to job application ratio. Now, Rita mentioned earlier that when you apply for a job, okay, maybe there's an opening for a particular job, there are about 250, and this is on average, meaning technically speaking, there's going to be more. So on average, there's about 250 people applying for that one job. So what is it about your job application that's going to hit the eye of a recruiter to reach out to you? So anytime you sit behind a laptop or you are with your phone, whatever, and you want to apply for a job that interests you, you need to understand that this application I'm going to put in is going to be in a pool of another 250 applications. So, what is it about mine that's going to stand out? Now, the second thing is that this unemployment situation is not just in Ghana or in Africa. Globally, as at September 2021, I think the global unemployment rate is at a staggering 5.7. And it will interest you to know that this is not reducing, it's increasing by the day. We also have this overqualified applicant syndrome that's contributing to the competition in this employment landscape. So sometimes we can put out an opening for a job which we clearly state that this job is for entry level people. And this is not an exaggeration. You have people with PhD, MBA holders applying for a job that is clearly stated belongs to entry level applicants. Okay, so this just painting a picture of the employment landscape so that when you are putting in an application, you would know the competition that you are up against. Now, finally, there's also the global talent pool. I'm sure for most of you who are familiar with job boards like Jobberman and other job boards, you'd see that for a particular role, they would add remote and then they will add EMEA or APAC to it. What that means is that there are people in Ghana doing jobs for Asia Pacific and the rest. And then there are people also there doing jobs for the Eastern Africa, Middle East, etc. So now employers are not only looking to a talent pool in Ghana alone to fill their roles, they are open to the global talent pool. So now the competition is really, really tight. Okay, so you need to become more proactive as a job seeker in in making your application stand out, which is what this whole conversation is about. I think for me, this will be the most important slide in my presentation. If you don't remember anything, always remember that the competition is tight. So you can't be casual about your job application. You can't just, as Rita said, you can't just be lying down. You pick your phone. Oh, today I've not made any applications, so let me just send some application. Those days are over. Okay, thank you very much. I think we can move on to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to keep my presentation brief because Rita really did justice with the AI system. But I want you to enter into the mind of a recruiter or an employer when anytime you want to make a job application. Now, why did AI become necessary? First of all, there's technological advancement. Rita already spoke that a lot. Now, many employers are looking at work efficiency for their recruiting team, and even for me as a recruiter. Okay, so gone were the days where you be sifting through piles of CVs trying to find the best fit. Now, organizations are devoting man hours and manpower towards more strategic initiatives as against tactical or operational stuff because that's where you are really able to impact the bottom line. Okay. So, for that reason, it has become necessary that for the parts of the recruitment process that can be delegated to automation and streamlining. AI will do that. So even for small and medium-sized companies who are not able to afford in-house ATS systems, that's why they would outsource to a staffing agency like Jobberman because it's no longer a luxury, to enable your recruitment system to be powered by AI. It has become a strategic initiative if you really want your business to move forward. Okay, so be thinking about these things. Job application is work. Okay, so anytime you're about to make an application for which you are looking forward to a response, first of all, think about the statistics. Also, put yourself in the mind of, or put yourself in the mind of the recruiter or the employer when you are about to make some of these applications. All right, we can move on. Okay, so how does it work? We mentioned earlier that it automates most of the recruitment process. So before you sit down and try to go through resume after resume, now that doesn't happen. Okay, so an AI-powered system can screen your CVs, and then it uses this passing system where it segregates your skills and particular items that an employer is looking for. So there's a filtering system that tells me that if I'm looking for 3 years experience in this particular skill, I'm able to get that. Okay, now it's also able to do for bigger organizations. I know some of you are targeting very big organizations. You probably applied so many times. For someone who wants to work for a company like Nestle, let's say, you can be applying to Nestle for 5 years and there will be no feedback from there because one of the main things they will use their ATS for is what we call predictive analytics. Now they use machine learning to do this. Machine learning basically is like how for a human being you learn from experience. Machine learning, they program systems to be able to learn from past experiences. So they have past data of hiring trends. And so based on that past data, they're able to tell, looking at this person's experience, exposure, skill, education, etc., the person is able to do this work or not. So that's predictive analytics, which is something that an ATS system is able to do. Some ATS systems are extremely comprehensive that it's able to even carry on your video interviews, for instance. So what happens is that there are questions that will be put out to you, and then you have to record your responses in a video format and then upload. The ATS system too is also able to help in mitigating biases like, oh, this guy is even in my church, oh, this guy speaks my language, etc. So this is just some of the ways in which the ATS works. Right, now to the big question, how do I beat the competition? Because the competition is there and it's real. Okay, so we can move on. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I mean Rita did justice to that. But hey, we can't overstate the importance of this using relevant keywords. I'll repeat this again that on average, a research has been done. It said on average, it takes about 3 to 6 months to actually land a job opportunity. So imagine having to be tailoring your CV and massaging it here and there to fit a particular role. Yeah, but that's the work you need to put in if you actually want responses. Okay, I'm sure there are some of you on this live webinar who are probably looking at reinventing yourself. So you're in a career, you're looking to, divert or maybe specialize, etc. There are opportunities out there, but until you tailor your CV in a particular way, you're never going to get responses from anybody. Let me use myself as an example. I have been an HR journalist for almost 10 years now, but looking at where the world is going to, I decided that, look, I want to specialize in a particular function. Okay, so it took work. In fact, some of it has to be volunteering opportunities because I was looking for experience that I can use to enrich my CV so that I'll appeal to a particular type of employer or I'll appeal to a particular kind of recruiter. Okay, so the need to use relevant keywords cannot be overstated. Simple formatting is very important. So you are putting in an application that will be readable not only by a machine, but also by a human being. Recently I received a CV. I just wondered. I mean, even if you're a graphic designer, that CV was too graphic. You know, the person wanted to say, during my free time or as a hobby, I play games. And the person literally put a console. There was a console. I thought, oh, this CV is so busy. A CV like that may miss out in terms of ATS screenings. It will not be able to read some of the relevant things that we need to see. Okay. And then the ATS is also able to summarize and analyze quantifiable data. And so if you are someone who has worked a lot in the finance space or accounting or these spaces where it's very important to quantify your achievements using percentages and specific numbers, that really shoots you up because the ATS systems are also designed to be able to analyze this quantifiable data in their ranking so that your ranking just shoots up as against someone whose CV is just flat. We don't see any numbers in there. We can carry on. Okay, so it's also important, as was mentioned earlier, that you complete and update your profile. Okay, so every ATS or AI-powered job search platform depends heavily on a complete and updated profile. So you are highlighting things like your experience, your years of experience, your education, you're highlighting the industry, you're highlighting things like job function, etc. So it takes time, but all I'm saying is it's worth the time. So you sit down and actually go through the pain of updating your profile. you become immediately visible. You become immediately visible to a recruiter and then also to an employer. And you would see that one of the things that an AI powered platform does is that depending on this your complete profile, they are able to recommend jobs to you. And when these profiles are not complete, these job recommendations don't come. So it even takes off the load off of you, moving from site to site trying to apply for jobs. When your profile is complete on Jobberman, for instance, you actually will be receiving job recommendations that match your profile. So it's very important to also have this AI thinking mindset whilst you are engaging job boards and job search platforms. Let's carry on. Now, I think this where the world is going to, right? So it's not prevalent these days, but it's going to if we are going to be in the future of where we are going in terms of the world of work, you are going to be experiencing a lot of this. So the way today the ATS does some of the work, and then eventually a recruiter reaches out to you and schedules a face-to-face meeting, etc. There are organizations currently who are allowing their AI-enabled platforms to interview people. So what will happen is that anytime you receive an invitation for such an interview, you have room to practice on the platform. Okay, so you familiarize yourself. There will be a section for a mock interview. So you familiarize yourself with the platform, and then you prepare with AI in mind. Artificial intelligence, it's a machine, but it's been programmed with what we call the natural language processing, NLP for short. So that programming allows them to be able to understand the language of a human being. It may not be 100%, but to a large extent. And so they'll be asking a question and analyzing your answers close to how an objective recruiter would see it. And so you prepare for situational, behavioral interview questions, etc. How would you behave in this scenario? What did you do in response to this scenario? So you have those preparations in mind as though you were going for a physical interview, and then you highlight your soft skills just as you would in a physical interview. So you can do more research on this so that in case you apply for jobs with one of these big organizations and you have to use an AI powered interview platform, you won't lose it. You just need to practice, and with time you get a hang of it. Okay. All right. So I think thank you very much for the time. Oswald, over to you.
Thank you very much, Esolan, for the great presentation. We absolutely loved it. So, let me read some comments and some questions. So, I have Ali Yakubu. Thanks for the enlightenment. Thank you to Ali for joining our webinar. And okay, there's a question here from Isaac Asante. So he says, "Hi, I'm a nurse working in a government hospital, but need looking to attach to my main job. I've applied to so many hospitals for the locum, but most of them don't call me after looking at my CV content. What do you have to say to Isaac? What do you think may be his reason for not being called after they take a look at his CV?"
Okay,
So,
so
any of you can
yeah,
go ahead.
Isaac, so you actually said they don't call you after looking at your CV, right? So we need to even investigate if they actually take a look. I mean, it's one of the things that we've been talking about so far. So for all you know, they are not even seeing it. That's the first thing. And secondly, if they even see it, Unless there's a match in terms of what they are looking for, they may not reach out to you. Personally, as a recruiter, what we are assessing is a match, right? So we are solving the need, the pain point of the employer. So he's looking for a particular set of skills or experience. So if I'm looking at your job, your experiences, and there's not that match, it will be difficult. That's after you've even been able to pass through the screening that an ATS will take you through. I don't know if Rita would
Rita,
want to
do you have
speak to
anything to
that.
add?
Yeah.
Rita,
The
we can't hear
vacancy they
you.
have.
Okay, we can hear you now. Please take
Okay,
a submission.
so you mentioned after looking at your CV, so it means you are sure there is vacancy in the company. So what you need to do is to take a look at your CV again. Look at your CV, check if everything is in. Or at times, when we have a CV, we feel it's enough. I have a CV, but is it up to standard? Does it have everything you're looking for? At times, I may not have met someone before. I've not met Kofi or Amma before, but by looking at the CV already, I know I don't want to employ that person. It happens. Etonam can testify. Most of the candidates, she does not even know them, but by seeing the CV, she knows from that instant that she's not going to hire that person. It may be because the CV is too lengthy or it even has no information at all. So just look at your CV again, make sure you tailor it to what the employer is looking for. Make sure it has all the key things that the employer needs, your experience, and let it be compelling. Like it should move the employer. When the employer sees it, it should be like, I need to meet this person. I need this person in my company. But I shouldn't be like one of those. Like you just have your name, your phone number, your email, and then your school, and then you put some experience. I work at um, Accra Hospital. Finish. Check it again and make sure it's in line. It's up to standard. And I'm sure from time to time. And also be sure there is actually vacancy. For all you know, they may not even need a networker as you're saying. So you may be applying and they are not ready yet. So just get the right information and look at your CV again, and I'm sure you would get the job.
All right. Thank you very much. And also to add to that, Isaac, what I would like to tell you is that here at Jobberman, we do CV reviews as part of the services we offer, and it's absolutely free. We can review your CV for you. And if we review and then it needs to be rewritten, you can also do that. You can rewrite your CV for just a small fee. So reach out to us and we'll get you sorted. All right. So I'm going to read some more comments. And please do send your questions and your comments in the comment section. You can send them on WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp number is 054-290-4650. I repeat, 054-290-4650. All right. So comment. Victoria Hale, thanks for sharing. It's been very insightful. Thank you, Victoria, for joining our webinar. I have another. Okay, Jocelyn, so more button. Hi, Jocelyn. Thanks for joining from Accra. Very educative, GTFOE. Thank you for OCJ. Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to read some more questions, then we proceed. So I have a question from Enoch in Salimo. Sorry if I didn't get the pronunciation right. My Enoch says, when you submitted an application, when you submit an application to a company, is it possible to make a follow-up 2 weeks after submission?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I don't think it hurts to follow up, but 2 weeks after you make a submission, I'm sure after you apply for a job, right? Depending on what kind of ATS they use and how the system has been programmed, you probably receive a message that says it's you'll be contacted after a short list is made after 2 weeks. So for that, if 2 weeks is passed after your application and you didn't receive a response, you've been duly notified right after your application. So you know that it means I didn't make the short list. This is mostly appropriate after you've been through the shortlist and actually been contacted and engaged, maybe a preliminary engagement, and then afterwards you've not heard from the employer. It's okay to reach out via email and try to follow up on it. I'm trying to just wrap my head around how you are going to follow up after 2 weeks when an application has just been made and there's not been any feedback. Or sitting in the place of an employer and a recruiter, I'm just trying to assess the likelihood of a response to this your 2 week follow up after submission. So if after 2 weeks, 2 weeks is quite a number of days after an application. And as Rita mentioned, you'll be amazed how long some employers take to actually make a decision to do just a preliminary engagement. You know, yes. And so if after 2 weeks, you can just wait it out. Rita mentioned to wait it out for at least 3 months. But if you can't wait for 3 months, wait it out for at least 4 weeks because most organizations are really pushing their time to fail very narrow. Okay, so they are trying to narrow down their time to fail because it's one of the metrics they use to measure the effectiveness of their recruitment process. Okay, so if after 1 month you don't hear from them, I can guarantee you that you probably didn't make their short list for that particular role. But the good news is that at that point, your details are in their system. And so once there's a match, you don't even have to, they would now automatically reach out to you. I hope I answered Enoch's question.
Yes, you answered it right. You answered it. So, next to on to our next question. But before I do that, let me draw your attention to everyone who is posting. I've noticed as I was reading the comments, we have our viewers dropping their phone numbers. I don't know what exactly for, but I guess they they are looking for a job. That's why they are dropping their phone numbers. If you are searching for a job, just visit our website. We have over 600 job listings on our website that you can apply for. Visit our website. It's updated every day and find a job that best suits you. All right. Sign up for free. Make sure you sign up for free. You don't pay anything for signing up. Sign up. Make sure your profile is complete. 100% complete profile. And find that job that best suits you. And trust me, you'll be contacted by your next employer. So my next question is, okay, so the next question I've come across is someone is asking what number of pages makes a standard CV? How many pages makes a standard CV? Who will go first? Who will go first? Rita? How many pages
Okay,
makes a standard
so
CV?
I would speak and then leave it for Etonam since she is more specialized in the area. So one key thing to also note is your CV shouldn't be very lengthy so that it should have everything the employer is looking for. So make sure you have the key things on it and take out most of the things that are not so relevant. I came across about a 10-page CV, and even though it's good to have all your experiences, but it gets to a point where you need to read some of the things you did when you were at JHS. If you are like an entry level candidate, you may have to put some of those things there. But if you attain a certain level, you get to like 15, 10 years experiences, it's necessary to take some of the menial ones off because it makes your CV very lengthy. And imagine a recruiter has like 4 hours to get a candidate. It's not coming to look through all of these. At times, it makes them frustrated. So make it concise. Make sure it has everything on point. Everything is summarized very nicely. So if this is the CV, when I'm looking at it, even by looking at the first page, I should know that okay, so it has everything I'm looking for. That so when you remember in the earlier session, I made mention of tailoring your CV using keywords. So if you have all these things, you don't have to have a very long CV because everything is aligned to the role. So let me hand it over to Eton. I believe she has more to say to that too.
Okay, so the CV and then the resume are used interchangeably, but the CV and the resume are not the same in terms of the content. Okay, so mostly for business purposes, job applications, your resume is more required. And your resume, as Rita has just mentioned, is not supposed to be lengthy. They are the highlights of the things that you've accomplished in your career. And especially if you are actually going to do what we've spoken about so far, which is tailoring your job for specific industries and specific roles, then you realize that your CV won't, because sometimes the reason someone has 7 pages CV is because they are putting everything they've done from all the years, even if it doesn't apply to the particular role in question. Okay. So if you are doing the tailoring we are talking about, you realize that you wouldn't, no matter the years of experience you have, you wouldn't exceed a 3 paged CV. But for people who are more in the academia, that one you are required to put everything there, your publications, your presentation, your dissertations, and research work and everything. So for them, it's actually something they really look forward to. When you apply for a job in the academia and your CV comes and it's just 3 pages, they wonder what's going on here. They are actually looking for something more bulky. But if you're on this other side where you are applying for jobs in companies in a business setting and all that, you highlight your keywords. Once the system is able to pick that, then as a recruiter, we call you for the preliminary engagement. The CV is just to get your foot in the door, or your resume is just to get your foot in the door. And then we reach out to you and we then source out every other information that we need from you.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Economic America. So the next question says, talking of experiences, what about opting for an entry level job? What are we supposed to do? This from Erica Ampo.
Okay, so this is really a tough one for everybody, for the employer, for the job seeker like Erica, and then for a recruiter myself. Because the truth is, everybody needs to be given an opportunity to prove themselves, right? But an employer can't use his platform to give you the opportunity to now prove yourself. They are most likely going to look for somebody who has done something before, you see. Which is why, for me, this conversation is even more important earlier than after you've left school. You see, so once you are there, you take advantage of opportunities that sometimes do not pay, right? So internships now, it will shock you. People are not even interested. Once the internship is not going to pay, they are not interested in doing it. But at the end of the day, what you are looking for is to build and develop a skill. So sometimes, even if it doesn't pay, so by the time you are leaving school, you have 2 clear years of actual work that you've done together with national service. So it's very difficult to say that you don't have any experience. But we receive CV. Sometimes it's for entry level roles, so and you just can't go for the person because the person showed no initiative whilst in school, no internship, nothing. Even the 1 year national service, when you really look at the person just wrote 2 lines, performed administrative duties, and then that's it. So it's like no matter how you try to help the person. It's just difficult. So for Erica, if you are still in school, that's a plus for you. You still have time. You probably need to do overtime, look for opportunities, even if they are free, to develop and build skills. But if you are already out and it now dawned on you that wow, it's really tough out there, then you have to begin to leverage volunteering opportunities, because now the currency you require is your skill, which you don't have. So if someone is willing to give you their platform for you to develop the skill at no cost, it seems you probably have to take advantage of that. Okay. So, I mean, doing some of these things will help, entry level job seekers, because we are currently doing a graduate recruitment for those of you who would know. And it's just sad, some of the CVs that we have received. Rita, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, so you've said it all. Try and do something. Even if it's not paying, just make sure you are doing something. And as she made mention of something I would like to speak on. She said they have just 2 lines, performed administrative duties, and that's all. That's one thing about most job seekers. When you take the CV, they are more interested in just filling the spaces. So work experience, okay. Did some job seekers do not even care what is there? They just want to put something there and have the. It's like I have something in my work experience. It's saying it's 2 years or 1 year, but make sure you have clear information, and it's something that when an employer reads, he'll be interested in meeting you. So it's all part of tailoring your CV. So I believe from today, when you're applying for a job, your CV is not going to be just an ordinary CV, but it's going to be a well written one. So that will be it.
So, all right, thanks for the submission. Interestingly, there's a reverse of that question that I came across. That same question of job experience. So Lydia Apoko says, I have a friend with more than 10 years experience as an administrative assistant. She stopped working to have a degree in 2017, and since then she's been applying for jobs but no response. What advice can you give to such person? So with this person, she doesn't have experience. She has 10 years experience. Stopped to pursue further education, and since then, no response from employers. What could be causing this, and
Okay,
what would you advise
so
her to do?
I recently worked on a role where also an administrative role, right? So the client explained, or the employer explained the kind of person they're looking for and all that. And then we fish out people who have, like, just like this person, 6 to almost 8 years experience. And then the employer comes back to say that I'm looking for someone who is much younger, but with the same. Sometimes it's just interesting the kind of combinations the employer is looking for. But it behoves on, because when you think of it, it's as though they have the bigger ticket, because you are looking for an opportunity, right? And they have the platform to give to you. I wish I could speak to this person myself. Let's look at what documents she has and what roles she's been applying for. Are they the same administrative stuff she's done, or is she looking to reinvent? Is she specializing what? And how is, like, what we've been talking about since the beginning of this webinar? How is her experience represented in her CV? Is it something that's appealing? Is it just haphazard, something that an employer will not? Once your CV is organized and appealing, an employer will be willing to engage with you, and that's the key thing. You see, so once your foot is in the door and an employer, then you have the opportunity to really sell yourself to land the opportunity. It's really a challenge if you are not getting called at all. Do you get it? Because we sit here and we engage people on a daily basis, meaning there are people who are being called. Why is that? They are probably doing something right when it comes to the CV part, because I mean, your CV is your first introduction before any employer gets to meet you, anyways. So if things are not working on that side, then that side has to be fixed. Okay, because if you have the experience, you've done the work and all that, why won't we want to speak with you? Is because we are probably not seeing what you think we should be seeing. We are not seeing it. Let me again use this example. I recently filled a role, right? So I'm on our platform and then I'm sourcing for applicants. And then I see this person. I look at one particular experience she has in a particular company and I said, this is what I have, but I want it to run through every company that she's worked in. By seeing that she's done that thing in that one company, but I thought, oh, let me just go ahead and engage her and see. So I called this person and apparently she's done the same thing. So she's even a stronger candidate than I imagined. Okay. But if I send that CV the way it was to the employer that I'm working for, she's never going to get called ever. I knew it. You see, so because I engaged with her and I knew her potential and what she could do, I guided her through rewriting the CV. I went through it and thought this would work. And as we speak, she's been applying for jobs, I understand, for the last 4 years. She worked on her CV, went through a little grooming, and then she started work 2 weeks ago. Okay, so we're not just telling stories. If the thing is repetitive, you've been applying year one, year two, year three, there's just something wrong, especially on the CV side, because that's what gets your foot in the door.
All right, all right. This is from Richard Taylor. I wrote an aptitude test, but over 1 month, I did not receive any feedback. Why? An aptitude test with no feedback. What could be the cause?
Would I want to speak to that?
Okay, so for that, I made mention of some employers having a lengthy recruitment process. So for all you know, it's an ongoing role which may take. I mentioned 3 months because usually jobs on Jobberman are posted for 45 days. So if the job is on the website for 45 days, it means all that time the employer may have not started working on the role yet. He may be waiting to get more applicants. So that can be a reason. And the other thing too is the employer may be working on other things and may not be ready or may not be ready to employ you as at that point. And when you apply for a job on Jobberman, there is this notice that says that if you've not heard from the employer for this number of time, consider the application not successful. You know, the employer is supposed to reach out to you when you apply for a job, but that's not always the case. Some employers, that's what they're supposed to do, reach out to you whether you are successful or not. But that's not always the case. So that we have that discretion there or that note there to prompt job seekers that the fact that you're applying for the job does not mean you would automatically get the job. So if after some time you are not getting feedback from the employer, you consider it not successful. But also bear in mind that some of the recruitment takes time and you can get a call from the employer any moment from or any time. So keep your email active, your phone numbers active. So that's what I have to say from that point.
Okay. All right. So let's take our next question. Wow, so many questions. So many questions. All right. So Um, we've asked this question. We've asked the question. All right. So this is from Lynn. Lynn is asking, what should be the best response to a question on how much you expect to be paid? I know today we are talking about CV and AI.
Yeah,
This question keeps coming every day
every
and
time.
every time.
All right, so I mean, that question, okay, for a recruiter or for an employer, it's just assessing a couple of things, okay. So first of all, I want to know what you think you are worth because it's very important. People want people who understand who they are, what they are worth, and what they are contributing. Okay, what they are able to contribute because we are not looking for someone who is just looking for a job because everybody is just looking for a job. But we want someone who understands value and how they will be able to deliver that value. Okay, so that's the first thing. That is why anytime I ask that question in an interview and people are fidgeting, some people even think it's funny and they laugh. Like, I'm just, I'm blown away because it's one of the most basic. It's like, tell me about yourself. The way you practice for tell me about yourself is the same way you practice for what is your salary expectation. Okay, so that's the first thing you should have at the back of your mind. We are talking about worth and then we are talking about delivering value. They want to see that. Secondly, a recruiter and an employer want to know how savvy you are in terms of your industry. Okay, so it's very interesting. I interviewed somebody last week for an entry level role. The person has 1 year experience after national service, and then I asked salary expectation, and she said she is expecting 8,000 Ghana cedis as take home. That tells me that either the person is in a different economy I don't know about, or just something is just wrong. Because if she's done her research, she would know that she is quoting her boss's salary for that industry that I was recruiting her for. Okay, so a recruiter also wants to know whether you did your research to understand the space and what happens in there. Okay. Now, how do you even know that this is how much the market rate is? There are so many resources. Okay. There's Glassdoor, for instance, that tells you wherever you find yourself, whether you're in Africa or whether the role is a global role, whatever it is, even limited to specific geographical locations, you have information about how much people in this category. So you come into the interview with an idea, and it's always advisable not to come quoting a flat amount. It's like this is the amount, there's nothing. So it's always safer to give them a range so that in between there somewhere you are comfortable with what. Okay, so when all these things are checked, you won't be afraid to answer it because the person asking you your salary expectation understands the market and the industry and already knows. They just want to ascertain whether you also are aware. Okay, so I mean, these are just a few pointers on how to go about answering that question.
All right. All right. Thank you. So we have the last question for the day because our time is almost up. So this question says, please say, my last concern has to do with updating the Jobberman profile. I've tried it several times, but the update does not take effect after I'm done. Some of my friends are having the same issues. Is there anything you can do to assist me? Thank you. Rita, would
Okay,
you like to say that?
so most of the times when we try updating our profiles and it's not working, we have some people calling customer service trying to get us to assist them. And we ask them, which feedback are you getting or which error message are you getting? And most of them are unable to give us any tangible error message. So what I would encourage you to do is try updating your profile. Make sure you're using Google Chrome. And when you're updating your profile and it's not working, is there a feedback? Is it telling you that you've left an empty space that you need to go back to add? Because some of the texts are such that you need to add before you can proceed to the next stage. The experience level, I know we have a minimum and a maximum number of words you can have there. So if it's less than that, the system prompts you to add more. If it's more, it tells you it's more. You need to take, like, you need to reduce the number of words you have there. So we need to pay attention to most of these things. I had a job seeker come to the office one time and she was complaining about the same thing. So I made her log into her job seeker account. We were doing it together. So I just told her she should proceed, she should act as if I'm not here. And I realized there was something she was being told that she needed to add something at the top, which she had left out. I think it's about you or something. And she kept clicking update, update, update. And the thing was still showing add this column, add, but she was just clicking. So always make sure you check everything. Is everything in place? And I'm sure you would be able to update because we have a lot of people completing their profiles day in, day out. And if you still have any challenge, you can always call our customer service line. Customer service would assist you and make sure you have it done. But just after this call, just make sure you log in, use Google Chrome. Maybe you have opened your job seeker profile in several tabs. At times, when you open in several tabs, it stores up data. So what it does is it tries to take data from the old tab you opened. So all of these things may not make it work. So just clear all your browsing data and try again, and you would be
Yeah.
able to update
All
your
right.
profile.
Okay. So one last question, last comment before I go. This from Mauto. He says, "Hello, Madam Etona. Great to put a face to the name. Yeah, you are very professional and keep up the good work." All right.
Thank you.
So before I leave, okay. So this one just 30 seconds later. Someone is asking if it's professional to have your picture on your CV. Just 30 seconds.
Okay, so well, there's no hard and fast rule, but I mean, for Francophone, I've recruited for different regions, Francophone regions, Asia Pacific, etc. So in Asia Pacific, Francophone regions, for instance, it's even weird if your face is not on your CV. But in our part of the world, it's not standard practice. So people don't really look forward to seeing your face in your CV. So it will be best to be on the same because for many recruiters in our part, it doesn't appeal to them to see your picture there. Okay, so it would be best to just skip that. If you really meet their criteria, they'll reach out to you and see your face in person. So
All right.
yeah,
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rita. Thank you very much, Etonam, for joining speaking on our webinar. All right. So we have added a recommended candidate feature. This feature suggests 10 candidates that match the role published on our platform, and you can invite them to apply. This is done as soon as your job listing is published, and it gives you a faster access to a pool of qualified candidates and the added value of leveraging our database for highly qualified candidates outside those who have applied for the job. This gives you the ability to connect with your ideal candidates right from the get-go. It's available on our standard platform, our standard product, sorry, and you can get it on our website, www.jobberman.com.gh/employer. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar, our second webinar for the year. We hope to see you at our next webinar. Thank you. Thank you, Ethanam. Thank you, Rita.
thank you.
Thank you.
Sifting through CVs can be one of the most daunting tasks, especially for a recruiter like myself. Today, I'm excited to share with you our relevance ranking feature of our basic listing product. Our relevance ranking Sifting through CVs can be one of the most daunting tasks, especially for a recruiter like myself. Today, I'm excited to share with you our relevance ranking feature of our basic listing product. Our relevance ranking feature ranks applicants based on their relevance to your job description. This allows you to quickly filter candidates based on specific criteria such as qualification, education level, years of experience, or location. This means less time is spent reviewing candidates who have applied, as the most relevant ones are shown at the top rank in order. This saves you time and allows you to focus on interviewing only the most qualified candidates for the job. Ready to take your hiring process to the next level? Get started today.
Hello Ghana. Averagely, a single job listing receives 250 job applications. With so many candidates applying for a job posting, it can be overwhelming to manually sift through CVs and cover letters to find the most qualified candidates. Let me introduce to you the recommended candidate feature, which allows employers and recruiters like myself to match the recommended best fit for the job. Our recommended candidate feature uses data analytics and machine learning algorithms to score and rank candidates based on their qualifications and fit for the job. You are automatically presented 10 excellent candidates whom you can choose and invite to apply for your role. This saves you time and hassle of sifting through CVs. This is hiring made easy with you in mind. Get started today.